What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Scarves and Spikes pre-match show. We're all coming in a little hot, but it is Atlanta versus Cincinnati Day. It is that esteemed early season match of the year where Atlanta travels up to the state of Ohio and is missing half the squad. So, tradition as it is. Welcome, Henry. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a fine Saturday, kind of earlier in the game week, which is nice. Yeah, and I think we should just jump right in. The lineup is already out. Should we dive into
And
that?
a couple of surprises. Let me get it pulled up.
Oh, by the way, I will mention Luke Brennan and Noah Cobb both started for the US U20s, and Luke Brennan scored in like 3 minutes. So
Good.
Five Stripes are balling.
So far, so good. Brian said, "Let's go." Feel like a W today. Let's see. Let me get this pulled up. But go ahead and give your quick thoughts about it there.
About the lineup?
Yeah. Here we go.
I think it's interesting. I think we kind of knew that we were gonna have a fullback playing as center back, but I didn't expect it to be Matt Edwards. I expected it to be Ronald Hernandez, really. But hey, look, I assume Ronnie Dyla has seen something in training that makes him, think that Edwards would be better suited for this kind of game. So I'm interested to see how that works. I don't think at the first team level we've seen Edwards as a center back. So we'll see how that works. Will Riley gets his first team debut.
Talking about get thrown into the fire.
For real. Mateus Cleek on the bench, so he is available to come in the second half. But this is a huge moment for Riley. He's one of those offseason signings that he was going to go into the super draft. Gray was super hyped about him and was like, dude, we cannot let him go to the super draft. Like, he has to get signed. And so he does get signed. And he's part of that midfield depth that is now coming in handy alongside Muyemba today. So that's good. And then, as expected, on the left wing, you have Xande Silva starting. With Edwin Mosquera out, he's kind of the only option that you have right now, because Luke Brennan, as I said, is over with the U20s, taking down Mexico. So that's cool. And yeah, the rest of it is kind of as expected. So for me, it's a good lineup. I'm interested to see how these pieces come together. This is a game where, and I feel like we say this every game, but I think Moranchuk has to step up in this game. He is, him and Latte Lat are the guys, and they are the pair that are supposed to really bring this team over the line in this game. So that's what I'm going to be watching for.
Yeah, you've got a lot of guys in this game that kind of have something to prove, right? Like Xande Silva getting his first start in quite a while, and he seemed like he had the right attitude in training this week. He talked to us, and it was just kind of like, he's been here for a little bit. He's a little bit of a veteran presence in an Atlanta United perspective at this point with so many new guys coming in, right? But he wants that job back, and obviously when Miggy comes back, that throws things back into a little bit of chaos in terms of like, how do you fit people in the best possible spaces? But right now, this is as straightforward as you can get in terms of your front four, right? Miranchuk has to have a big game. Saba has something to prove. He hasn't quite been where I think anybody wants him and where he wants to be. Will Riley, the dude, if you didn't see the preseason games, I like him a lot, but this is a big, big step for him. And then same thing with Matt Edwards back there alongside Williams. My only concern about Matt is going to be his overall fitness throughout 90 minutes. Again, it's been a couple of weeks since we've seen him. He's had plenty of time to kind of build that up. He looked better week to week earlier, but you got a lot of variables here, and admittedly a lot of variables for Cincinnati as well. But somebody is actually there, and that person's name is Thomas Reginald Moose. Now, let's see if I can
Thomas
get us
the Tank
back
Engine
properly. Tommy the Tank Engine. What's up, Tommy?
Use my surname.
I know. Sorry, I was
biting. Use the government name.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. That
beautiful weather out here. Hey,
Good.
beautiful weather out here. 55-ish, a little windy.
Seen many
As soon as we
Atlanta
pulled
fans?
into our hotel, we saw a Saba jersey.
Nice. That's a good step. That means he's scoring today.
Maybe. A
How
lot of
long is
youth
he?
in this lineup, eh?
Lots of youth, and we haven't even talked about the subs yet. But
Dude, the
how
bench
far are
is
you from the stadium?
crazy.
Our hotel's like 7 minutes walking.
Okay, it's not bad.
A
So
little nippy.
Justin saying since he has two wing backs and they're three center backs, that's what we're talking about, right? Like
It's
both
a
of
huge
these teams,
disaster across the board.
he
Dude,
really
Miles
is.
Robinson is in the 18.
So
Is Ronald Hernandez?
Hernandez is on the bench.
I
No,
saw
yeah,
Click
he
as
is.
well.
He is.
Was there?
Hernandez
Yeah,
and
you
Click
got
are on the bench. Togashi,
Cohen.
and
You've
then a
got
whole bunch of twos
you got
players.
Cohen, Ashton Gordon, Ronald Hernandez, who you can probably expect to see at some point. Jaden Hibbert, Mateusz Klick, who you might see. Then you got, interestingly, Neri and Togashi, who are going to be your backup potential strikers. I would imagine Togashi gets the sub in before Rodrigo Neri does, but you never know. And then you have Sanchez and Nick Sisak. So lots of twos, making their way up.
What could go wrong?
In the preseason, early season match to Ohio, trip to Ohio, I don't know.
Well, I've been there.
I know.
If by halftime we're not tweeting about the game and we're just talking about the best trilogies of all time, then things went drastically wrong.
This game has the potential to be super drunk. I just want y'all to know, because
100%.
the defenses are like, what is going on? As Justin pointed out, there's two wingbacks in Cincy's back three. Yuya Kubo is playing as a wingback again. I don't even know what's going on. Like, this is just don't play defense at this point. Just go full on attack. Make this a 12-goal game. Come on, give us some excitement. Start off the week with a bang.
The thing is, it does kind of lend itself in a way to Atlanta, because there are goals to be had for both teams in this one, admittedly.
Straight.
But you have on paper,
No, straight. I'm telling you.
Alexei Miranchuk, Saba Livjanidze, and the record signing in MLS, Latte Lath. So like you have an attack up top that has shown glimpses, and you have Latte Lath, who's already on 3 goals for the season. And to Justin's point, like you said, they're going against guys that are playing out of position. But then the inverse of that is Atlanta has the same issue on defense as well. So really what this game is going to come down to is whatever team doesn't let the game get away from them.
Get up
Tommy,
early.
like you're trying to find your way.
Well, everybody's telling me I'm going the wrong way, and I know where I'm going. I've been here many times. They have a really nice little park outside that sells beers and kind of just hang outside. I enjoy it down here for games.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty neat. You know what else you can do if you're not in Cincinnati?
Or if
you're in our
are.
Patreon, or if you're not in our Patreon, you should join our Patreon by going to patreon.com/scarves and spikes. At about 2:20, I will fire up the watch along. Edgar, what's up, buddy? And we'll fire up the watch along. Y'all hop in the Zoom, and we'll hang out. We'll have some drinks. We'll chat. We'll have fun. We'll watch the game. We'll hopefully celebrate more than not. But it'll be a good time. Those watch alongs are always a fun time. So
I'll join the half.
Yeah, Tommy will hop on, probably drunk at the half, or at
Well,
least.
we'll see what the state of the game is at that point. If it's just I'm angry, it might just be better to save it for tomorrow.
Yeah.
What's the over/under on gummies by halftime?
No, I don't do those. And well, I guess I did in Atlanta, so never mind. Just ignore what I was about to say.
Right? How are you going to twist that one?
No, those are for after. That's for pregame, or that's a post-game celebration or post-game sadness. Whichever one you hit.
Are you looking at anybody in particular in this starting lineup?
The name you got to throw out there because he needs to have a good game is Miranchuk. He's not going to have anybody stealing his space out there. But if you need a player to step up, who has been his name's been dragged around for 3 weeks by every MLS announcer that's come onto our show, because he's got to step up at some point.
Yeah.
And this is the game for it. This is absolutely the game for it. If you can steal up 3 points or even a draw here when you're so shorthanded, great.
Yeah. Brian said a 6-5 scoreline, which I don't know how many of us are going to be living after the final whistle if that's the scoreline.
I might be running back to the hotel for it, Gubby, if it's a 6-5 game. I did bet Latte to score a goal.
I think Latte scores a goal as well. He's captaining my fantasy team, so I really would like it if he would score a goal.
It was plus 240. I couldn't ignore that. Like, that's crazy. One of the higher player names. Usually a player like of that name, just them looking at it's usually like a plus 100. So you bet 100, you get 100. But plus 240, that's insane. They must be thinking Atlanta's going to do real bad here. And I know better, Vegas. I know better. How many times has Tommy said that in the past and just goes, I wish I knew better?
I thought I did.
So, guys, I kind of want to look at the bench real quick, and we highlighted a little bit, but first of all, 2 goalkeepers, Cohen and Hibbert. So I guess there just wasn't enough players to fill out the bench.
Hey, Jaden Hibbert could pull up as a center back in a pinch all day. All day.
I really hope it doesn't come to that.
Me too. That would be some true open cup crap going on in regular MLS play.
But there also isn't a center back on the bench, and there were 3 twos call-ups. None of them are center backs. You have Rodrigo Neri, who's a center forward. You have Cooper Sanchez, who's a midfielder. And then I think it's Sik Sesak is the name.
Nick Sesak, yeah.
Yeah. And he's a fullback, if I'm not mistaken. Now, you do have Ronald Hernandez on the bench, and I'm assuming if you, for some reason, need to sub in a center back, he would be the first guy you look at.
Yep.
And then you would be able to have Sesak there as your like fullback depth. So I think it's interesting that those guys were called up. And then you have Ashton Gordon, which I assume, he's your winger depth at this case. Gosh, this is just not an ideal squad, I would say. Not because of the player quality necessarily. Partially that because you're depending on a lot of players that don't really have MLS experience, but also the positions. Some of these guys will have to be, they're going to be forced to play out of their comfort zone position-wise. So I think that's interesting. It's in a sense an audition for some of these players to kind of earn their way into kind of Diala's mind and the thought of, these guys could get first-team contracts if they impress. Because not only are you having to step into a game against an Eastern Conference contender, you're stepping into a game where many of these guys will have to play out of position and they'll have to adjust the way that they play. So that's going to be a huge game for these guys. And I really, really hope it goes well for them.
And it's those individual kind of performances as well to keep an eye on. Like, the guys, if some of these twos guys get minutes, those are rare minutes with the first team, especially in a meaningful match, right? And if they perform well, that's a huge confidence builder. And it's even better if they perform well and then the team can come out of here with a win. That would be huge. But it's a big test. And I think, one of the hallmarks of a really good team in any league in the world is having players that are not just plug and play for one position. They can step to the side or step forward a little bit into another role if they have to, and still understand the role and play it well. And, at the end of the day, your fullbacks have to be defensive oriented. That is their primary job at first, right? That is initially what they have to do. But, you have to be able to have guys that maybe aren't jack of all trades, but they've got to be jack of more than one. Tommy,
guys, I'm going to run. Someone tried to sell me, I thought it was a Coney dog, but it was a Coney dog hat. So I feel like I was misled. I thought it was an actual hat. It's a Coney dog hat. I didn't want the hat. I wanted a Coney dog. So these are the problems I'm having in Cincinnati. It's already a disaster.
Does it have skyline trim on top of it?
I don't know. I
Be
don't know.
careful out
I need.
there.
I just drove for 4. I just drove for about 4 hours. I need a drink.
Tommy's gonna
You
get here at
guys,
halftime. He's gonna be
Go
wearing
ahead.
a Coney
Get
dog
started early.
hat.
you guys enjoy the watch along. I'll join in half, and hopefully we'll be talking about a win.
Yes.
See you, Thomas.
See you, buddy.
See y'all.
That's just part of the experience. You got to get accosted by somebody trying to sell you something.
I've never been to Ohio, but I know that that's kind of part of the Ohio ambiance.
I think there's a lot of things about Ohio that provide ambiance. Interestingly, just, you go from Cincinnati, which is northern Kentucky anyway, and then by the time you get to Columbus, totally different. And then by the time you get up to Cleveland, it's like, oh, we're in the lake at this point. Lots of changes as you go north. One question I have is I don't know that I consider Cincinnati the Midwest. I see people calling it the Midwest, and it kind of bothers me. Like, it really does, because if you look at it, like, we'll go to Google Maps, right? And you look at
Oh boy,
Ohio.
Tyler rant.
Yeah, dude, it kind of bothers me. Like,
are you gonna pull up like a PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna go off on
reasons why Ohio's not in the Midwest.
Look, I'm gonna share my screen.
Reason number 1: it's bordering Pennsylvania.
kind of bothers me. Like, hang on, we must discuss this. Cincinnati.
Reason number 2: it is literally nowhere near the middle.
Look at this. It's literally directly in line with Atlanta, and we're calling it the Midwest.
Wait, why are we calling it the Midwest? It's
I don't know.
on the East.
Atlanta even put up a thing today about it. They were like, "Oh,
Atlanta is more west than Ohio."
It just irks me. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know where we.
So hold on. So what is considered the Midwest? Because we need to hash this out right now.
Well, let's find out. Let's determine. All right, so we've all had our visual aid there. What is considered the Midwest?
Because Midwest to me is like freaking Kansas, Nebraska.
That's what I'm saying.
That part, like literally in the middle of the country.
Okay, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, the all-knowing encyclopedia, as defined by the federal government, the states of Illinois, okay, fair, Indiana, fair, Iowa, fair, Kansas, fair, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, fair, North and South Dakota, okay, Wisconsin, and then guess what the other one is? Ohio. How does Ohio fit into that list of states?
What?
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, if it weren't for Pennsylvania, Ohio would be on the East Coast.
Right? I don't understand this. That is not the Midwest.
I mean,
Justin said Midwest culturally, East geographically. Yeah, I could see that for sure. Because it's funny, because right when you cross the border down into Kentucky, you're in the boondocks. So, and then you go into Pennsylvania and you're partially in Amish country at some point.
Sure.
This formation confuses me. Just like the formations we're having to deal with today in this soccer match.
What a segue. Legendary segue. We took a geography lesson to tie it into soccer. This is what international breaks do to you guys.
Here we go.
You should never play through international breaks. It's a terrible idea.
This is what you get. All right, MLS. This is the kind of content that you get.
And we haven't started the drinking yet.
I know. Wait till we get on a watch along. Justin said, means it's going to be a good game when you have a good Tyler rant before. Ohio is indeed the odd man out, but
freaking Ohio, man. Anyway.
What else do we got here? What else is there to say?
I really don't know. I mean, I'm a mixture of excited and nervous for this game. I don't even know what to expect. I'm expecting goals. Like, if this game ends 0-0, then they just didn't play. Like, they just stood there. There's no way there isn't at least 1 or 2 goals in this game.
Yeah, if this game ends 0-0, I kind of consider it a robbery of everybody's Saturday afternoon.
Exactly. What a way to kick off MLS.
Right. This has to have. I mean, and on paper it should, and usually when it's on paper as being it should, then it won't happen. But whatever. Lots to look forward to for real though. From an Atlanta perspective, you have a lot of guys that are possibly going to get their first minutes. Will Riley's definitely, has a massive opportunity here. I mean, as does Matt Edwards, because Matt had, some good early games. He also had some moments where, his inexperience showed a little bit, but he's told us like he's working through that, and he feels confident, and that's what you want. And this is a big test. It's a huge test for him. I mean, he's gonna have to be one of the guys trying to help handle Cincinnati's midfield, which can still do some work. So, big opportunity for both teams.
And I spoke to him last year, and he's a guy with a very competitive attitude. Matt Edwards, he's very, determined, and he's a great guy. And so I'm rooting for him. I really hope he does well. And again, if he can shine as a center back and a right back, that's another feather in his cap. So we'll see what he can do. I'll tell you who else I'm looking at. I am looking at the wingers today. So Saba is back on the right side where he was last season. And there's been some talk about potentially him and Miggy switching, putting Miggy on the left and Saba on the right, so that they're more of providing service into Latte Lot, because the attack hasn't really popped off with them switched, I guess, inverted. So it's going to be interesting. This is kind of people getting what they asked for. I mean, Sans Miggy, you have Saba on the right, and he was very effective. I mean, he had, 12 goals last season, something like that?
I believe so, yeah.
He had several goal contributions from that position, so he's back there. It is kind of his time to show that he still has it and that he can still be that guy for Atlanta. And it's Xande Silva's time to show that he kind of, we saw Mayumba kind of going back to 2023, his 2023 version, his very, very effective in midfield version. Well, it's Xande's time to do that too. Pull out the backflips, man. Pull out the really good goals and the skills and hyping, Atlanta fans up anytime he gets on the ball. He was missing that last season. Part of that was he was dealing with an injury, but it's his time to shine. And look, no one has really won the left wing spot. I mean, you probably have Miggy nailed down for sure. He's very creative. He's good. But the other winger, I think, is up for grabs. Saba hasn't been that great this season. I wouldn't say he's a lock at that position. If Xande Silva can show him up and kind of be effective in this game, you might have to have conversations about Xande Silva winning that spot back and having that competition there. And I think that's healthy for the squad.
Oh, for sure. I also think it's going to be interesting too, because this game is more straightforward in terms of where you kind of have to place your guys. Like, we know Saba is stronger on the right, but I mean, thankfully he can handle the left as well, which we've said for a while. But when you're a winger, you're an attacking player. It's going to come down to, are you contributing to goals or not? And though he can maybe do all the stuff on the left that a left winger can do, if he's not scoring or assisting, then none of it matters, especially if he's going to kind of tend to, on breaks, float back over to the right, because that's what you've seen whenever there is a break and he happens to be the one, on the top end of the break. Even if he's playing the left side, he ends up on the right, which, look, if it's 1v1 versus, a defender and then the goalkeeper, you go wherever you've got to go to be effective. But in the normal run of play, him being on the left it's been a little bit of a struggle. But then when you bring Miggy back into it, if Xande has a great game, and I hope he does, then there is that big factor of, would Xande have been as effective playing in the normal kind of, full strength squad if you had just put him in there instead of Saba? So I mean, I think this game has a potential to give you some answers, but I think it could also raise some more questions for the coaching staff going back into matches when you have, your full strength guys back. So you need this, though. Like, kind of like you said, you do need the competition, but you also need to kind of just see where players tend to thrive a little bit better on their own when they're left to maybe a simpler version of the team. And you're going to have to do that today just because of the nature of the game and the international break. So I mean, it's exciting in one sense. It's a big opportunity for Atlanta, and I think out of all the times that Atlanta has had to go to Ohio over the past couple of years during international breaks, and when we know we joke around about it, it is really irritating. It just happens to be Ohio every single time. But I think out of all of them, this is one of those games where you actually have like a pretty solid opportunity here to go. You have most of your attacking outfit. Your defense isn't in shambles necessarily. You've got guys that have shown that they can defend pretty well. Now it's just a matter of can they do it all in an organized way and just keep Cincinnati from outscoring you. Atlanta should have goals in this one for sure.
Agreed. Is there anything else we want to go over before we get out of here?
Omar mentioned bringing up that rumor about League One. I don't think
I don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Justin saying if Saba does score, then he needs to stay there. You could always do the Miggy at the left side experiment as well.
Bruno's saying that he played on the left for Paraguay, so
yeah,
I guess
it's not that he's ineffective there.
Yeah, I mean he's on his left foot. He'd just be he wouldn't be the inverted winger cutting in to shoot.
Yeah.
He'd be more of the playmaker, I guess.
And when Miggy does play on the left, he tends to float centrally anyway. And so I don't think it would be as big of a deal. I think on counters, like he's going to go where he wants to go. But I think if you were to play him in a left wing position, he's going to naturally float back inside. And so that still gives him the opportunity to take shots when he needs to, mostly on those kind of quick transition moments. But in a build-up where you're trying to like build towards the top of the box, nobody's going to fall for Miggy trying to cut to his right foot and take a shot because he's not going to do that typically. So just in a similar way to how when Almada was here, Almada was not the guy to cut back and look at the one that he scored yesterday. That was vintage Thiago Almada. I say vintage is he's like 30, he's like 24 or whatever. But we saw it millions of times here in Atlanta. Like when he got in that sweet spot just outside the top right of the box, he would cut in and he would take that shot. Miggy is very similar from the other side. And so I don't think you would see that as much if you have to play him on the left, but maybe just as a playmaker. That's where he might have to go because Alexi wants to be on the far right as much as possible. And I will say, I think some people would argue this, but I think Miggy's right foot is probably a little more refined than Miranchuk's right foot. Some people say Miggy has a log as a right foot, but I don't know that I agree with that.
I think he actually might be more two-footed than Miranchuk.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think he's got a little bit more, capability there than Miranchuk does. So,
but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So about 20 minutes from now, I will fire up the Zoom. If you guys are not on our Patreon, then go join our Patreon, patreon.com/scarves and spikes. The link is there right at the top of Patreon. I think I'll put it in the Discord as well, but that gets you access to Discord, our watch alongs, everything else that we're doing. That'll be fun. It's always a good time. So we'll be on there. Like I said, 2:20. You'll go check out scarvesandspikes.com. We got articles there now. Got more articles coming up later. And am I missing anything?
I think that about does it.
That about does it. All right. And we will do spaces after. So y'all keep an eye out for spaces a little bit after the final whistle. Okay. But for all those joining Patreon,